Okay, we're 5 p.m. We'd like to stand and say Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, and liberty for all. Dan, you have a chance to review the minutes that we had for 124?
Yeah, everything seemed good with it.
Yeah, it looked good to me, so make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we're gonna change, because people are here for certain items, and we have like 20 items on the list, so we're gonna start with number 7 is the school roof update. I just want to make sure everyone's aware in town that because of some issues with delays with the plans and everything like that, we decided that they're going to put the lift, I'm sorry, this is a school roof. I was thinking of school lift, sorry. That's going to be done in summer. The school roof update is, we have gotten information from the contractors, how much it is. And the good news is, most of the contractors, it came under 500,000, which is originally we wanted 5-6 years ago. We've sent that information to Senator Mark. Hopefully Senator Mark can get that back and start the process over. I think we're in much better shape if that happens than we were 5 years ago, because nobody knew us 5 years ago. And I think not only has the school done a great job when renovations and just running the school. We have a great school there. Plus, we've contacted a lot of people in the state with our needs and shown them everything we've done. So we're just going to keep going after it and do what we can. Carl?
And I had a discussion with Schertle from the Berkshire Regional Planning Commission today, because we're up for a Green Communities grant, and so I am trying to work insulating the roof on the school and potential racking for a solar array, and if that can be funded through Green Communities, obviously you're going to need a new roof, so that might be the way to go. So I can't promise you anything yet, but that is another track that we're on. So we'll try to attack it as many ways as we can, and hopefully we'll get success in one of these efforts.
And we do understand every year there's more an urgency. I understand there's a couple of leaks going on right now that can repair, and it's like every year that goes by becomes more and more of an emergency per se. So we're working on that. Just wanted to let you know. And now the Safe Routes Grant, we want to thank Tara and Sandy and everybody else involved. They put in for a grant and for the first step, yes?
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I think the superintendent is going to be here shortly too. He was
Okay.
rearranging his schedule, so I don't know if you want to.
We'll wait.
A little bit.
We'll wait a little more then.
Okay.
And that's fine. We'll skip down to the Community Preservation Act, and we have Susan and Jean here. I know I was not here when it was presented to the select board, but from what I understand, that we're going to put it on the warrant.
Well, I need a vote from the board to put it on the
So
warrant.
that's. Did you have anything to
I
say?
do have a copy of the warrant that they usually propose.
Oh, okay.
So.
That would be
What did we vote on one of the last meetings? I thought Jeff and I made it.
You voted in favor of us doing this,
Yeah.
yeah.
This is formalizing.
But this is,
Okay.
this is the wording for a warrant.
Great.
for a
Thank you very much,
warrant.
Jane.
Okay.
They suggested if we change anything that we go back through the Community Preservation Organization and have them check it over, but
Okay.
this is their wording.
All right. What I'll do, I'll read this, and then we'll
Yeah,
vote to get it on the warrant.
Okay.
And then that'll take care of that. Town meeting warrant article. To see if the town will accept sections 3 to 7 inclusive of chapter 44B of the general laws, otherwise known as the Massachusetts Community Preservation Act, by approaching a surcharge on real estate property for the purposes permitted by said act, including the acquisition, creation, and preservation of open space, the acquisition, preservation, rehabilitation, and restoration of historic resources, the acquisition, creation, preservation, rehabilitation, and restoration of land for recreational use, the acquisition, creation, preservation, and support of community housing, and the rehabilitation and restoration of such open space and community housing that is acquired or created as provided under said act. To determine the amount of such surcharge on real property as a percentage of the annual real estate tax levy against real property and the fiscal year in which such surcharge shall commence. To determine whether the town will accept any of the exemptions from such surcharge permitted under Section 3 of said act or take any other action relative thereto. So I think what we will need to vote on tonight is just that we will have a warrant on,
An article,
yeah, at town meeting, so the town can vote on this. So I'll make a motion that we put the Preservation Act on the town warrant.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, all right.
Do we have wording for a motion? I talked with Chase Mark, there's one of two people that are this organization. And the September election is not a real election according to, so it would be on the November election if this passes at town meeting.
Okay,
And then if it passes, then it would go to, would start July 1st of the fiscal 2026.
okay,
But we have the wording, and I just want to confirm with them that it's okay, because we just put our surcharge amount in
Yep.
there.
yep,
And we're planning an informational meeting the end of April. It was April. At the school. So I'll be up here to talk to you sometime.
Okay.
okay.
And hopefully we'll be able to get the word out between now and then, so that people will attend.
Yes, yeah, it'd be nice to have people attend town meeting and to be able to explain what these things are.
Right.
Because a lot of times people have a lot of questions and that's the time to
There
answer.
will be questions, because of the surcharge, but
Yep.
it's relatively
Mild.
small.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and that's the way these acts are. You have to spend some money in order to get state money, and it's very important that the town realizes how much we're doing, how much we can get, and what we're using it for.
Right.
And
There's already 196 cities and towns that are involved in this in the state.
yeah,
And there are 20 more, plus us,
okay,
trying to get on now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we might as well get some of that state money coming back here.
absolutely,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, and it's going to cost us a little, I think,
little.
to get a lot or the
Right.
equal amount.
right.
So
Yeah,
we'll,
100% match.
we'll do that.
Yeah,
And it's good, let the town decide and let the discussion happen.
yeah,
So
and
we'll-
everything, any projects that go before the commission, once it happens,
Yep,
they all get voted on at town meetings, so it's nothing political.
okay,
Nobody can say, oh, well, so-and-so got this in, well, they didn't. It's the town itself that will get everything in,
Right.
because,
and that's the way it should be.
yeah,
Yeah, let the people
Really.
decide.
yeah.
All right, thank you.
That's great. No, thank you for your work on that.
Thank you for moving us up.
Thank you for coming.
You're welcome. All right, we're down to the Municipal Empowerment Act.
Okay, so the legislature is actually working right now on several proposals which are gonna need to be voted on at town meeting. And one of them would be to increase the meals tax from the 0.75% to a 1%. So on a $100 restaurant bill, instead of paying 75 cents tax to the community, it would be $1. So it'd have to go on a warrant to be approved at town meeting. The same goes for increasing the rooms tax, the Airbnb tax from a 6 to 6.5%, and then the motor vehicle excise with a 5% surcharge. So depending upon how the legislation ends up, and it is obviously subject to revision, we would like to, if, providing they pass it, put it on the warrant.
Okay. All right, and there'll be some discussion on all this to it,
Yeah,
town meeting, because,
yeah, because that would have to happen at town meeting, yeah.
yeah, and there's, like I say, I see both sides, like a lot of issues, and there needs to be discussion, because,
Yeah, we certainly, yeah, we do have a couple of concerns.
yeah, we do.
So there's nothing we can do with that really until
Um,
nothing to discuss really until the
Well,
legislature decides what they do.
These three items can go on, or if you want to postpone it, that's fine. We don't have a lot of time.
Okay, but are we waiting for the legislature to pass it?
I think the only thing that's really in question is motor vehicle excise tax.
Okay.
But we can wait another 2 weeks.
But I don't mind discussing it now, I thought, when you were speaking that, we had to wait for the legislature, so this is something we can decide right now.
Well, on whether it goes on the warrant,
Okay,
providing they pass it.
okay. Dan, you wanna, discuss any of it, or you wanna wait?
It doesn't matter to me. Maybe if we gotta wait for them to kind of make a decision, so, I mean, make sure we're not kind of wasting our time discussing something that's not gonna happen.
Right, but they may not do that by the time we have to put it on the warrant. That's an issue.
With the legislature, you never know.
No. All right, we'll wait at least 2 weeks and see what's going on.
Okay.
Okay, the cost of living for 2024?
Okay, so I did a CPI index study for the 12 months preceding. So the inflation rate is at 4.1%. So I am looking for direction as to what the cost of living adjustment is going to be.
Okay.
My recommendation would be 3.5%.
Okay.
And I also have and I emailed you folks a copy of the Franklin County Council of Governments municipal wage salary survey. And in almost every instance, compared to towns similar size and composition, our employees at Town Hall fall in the lower quadrant of the salaries. And this also inhibits significantly our ability to recruit, as we're hopefully going to be successful. So basically what we need to hear from the board is what am I going to build my budget on?
Okay.
And so it's your decision.
Okay, yeah, I looked and noticed too, and it's 4% for 2023. They do expect it, of course, this is speculation, but inflation is going down, and they do expect it to be 3% in 2024, but that's obviously their goal.
Subject to change.
Yeah, and we understand that. I was thinking about that, I did look at the other towns around, and I do agree that we are in the lower end on a lot of our jobs. But on the other hand, I look at a lot of these towns have a lot of industry. They have, I mean, some of them have windmills, some of them have the solar, some of them have everything. They are definitely wealthier towns than we are. The thing that worries me is that if we don't keep up with our employees, they end up going elsewhere because they get better positions. And we know what a nightmare we've had over the past few years in trying to keep people here and
And we
whatever.
still have it.
And yeah, so I was going to come in at 3%, and I don't think 3.5 is unreasonable. But Dan, you have a
I mean, based on inflation and what we're seeing for cost of everything going up, whether it's grocery stores, insurances. I mean, 3 or 3.5%, seems reasonable.
all right.
for it.
Why don't some of them may factor in on where we are when we do the budget. So why don't you put numbers in for the budget at 3.5%?
Okay.
But if it looks like we can't afford that, then we may have to cut it down to 3. But I think we're at least within the ballpark here. So is that okay?
We'll put it in at 3 and see where the numbers fall.
All right,
Or 3.5.
3.5, yep. Okay. Accountant position.
Okay, so let's see, we've advertised at Massachusetts Association of Auditors and Accountants. We've advertised on MMA, The Beacon, Indeed, with no satisfactory results. We did place another ad with iBerkshires, and we're having a little bit better luck.
Yep, yeah, and I've looked at the resumes coming in, you're right, it's just, there isn't a lot of qualified people that are applying for this, especially if they had any town experience. But we may be getting into a situation, I said I did find the one today was definitely better. We may be in a situation where we're gonna have to take the best we can get and train,
Yep.
while Don is still available to train somebody. Because some people will rise to the occasion, some people at least had accounting experience, and you're just gonna have to learn the process, and I wanna make sure we get somebody
Yes.
before Donna leaves.
For good.
So, Dan, I don't know, you agree with that or not?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, but the ad just hit yesterday
iBerkshire.
on my Berkshires there, so we'll see what else we have come in and line up some interviews coming up soon here.
Yes.
For one of our next meetings.
Yeah,
See what comes in the next week.
that would be the thing, as soon as he's come in, we'll set up a quick meeting, because it is
Dire need.
imperative, a dire need that we get an accountant as soon as possible.
I agree with you.
So, okay, enough said. Hi, Marilyn. Okay, audit.
So I've contacted Adelson and Company there in Pittsfield. Because we need an audit now that we've closed the books for 21, 22, and 23. And from the discussion I've had, it does not appear that they're interested in doing it. So I have obtained templates for a RFP, request for proposal, for multi-year audit proposals. And I think that that's probably going to be the route that we would take. We had in the past also used Tom Scanlon, who was incredibly good, but incredibly difficult and in high demand, hence costly also.
Okay.
I mean, but we want a good audit. So with your permission, I'd like to go for an RFP for audit services so that we can get this thing buttoned up.
Yeah,
Now that the books are closed for those years, the time is nigh. And so that's just.
Yeah, we haven't had an audit for 3 years, and just so people know, audits are not cheap. It's, I think we got, what, $20,000 in the budget?
15 to 20,000 per year.
And that was back.
Encumbered each year in
so-
anticipation.
So this could be a very expensive thing for the town to do, but it's something that's gotta be done. So I just wanna let you know. Dan, are you all okay with?
Yeah, I think that, definitely let's get that RFP going on that.
And who knows, there may be an accounting firm that I am not aware of. I don't know everything. I certainly am aware of that.
And maybe by putting out the bid too will help the cost of it too, if they gotta be competitive on it.
Yeah,
At a cost at what we're talking.
exactly.
It can only help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, let's get that
Okay, yeah,
going.
go ahead and do that, and we'll move on with that. The community sign at Town Hall, I just see it still here. I didn't know now that the weather's breaking, I just was wondering, I talked to Al McLean again Sunday, and he said the same thing as, well, now it's warmer, that he would be willing to set it up, but we have to get the sign set up before he can hook it up, right? Does he put this
All
up?
he's gotta do is put an electrical box that you plug it in, unless he's gonna hardwire it. I'm not clear on
I'm not
that.
sure, because he mentioned he wanted to know if it was out there yet,
Yeah.
and I said
mean,
no.
We can put it out there in quick order.
All right, I tell you, email's not good, but texting is, he says. I don't know if you would like to,
I did send him pictures of it,
okay.
and the pictures of the connection to the sign, but I'll send them again.
Well, what I'm worried about, I think he may be thinking that he's waiting on us now to put the sign out there.
Okay, and we're waiting on.
And I
you,
just
okay.
want to make sure we're on the
Okay.
same page.
Yep.
Because he said that he would definitely get to it now that the weather's warmer. So I got the impression, I may have misunderstood him too, but I got the impression that he was waiting for the sign to be put out there. So if
Okay.
you'd text him and confirm that, appreciate it. I might see him this Sunday. We go to the same church, so I see him every week or every other week or so.
Is there any funds left in like that grant the chief had for the community sign?
I don't, that would, no.
Okay. I didn't know, I couldn't remember how much it was, just, cause, so it's only one sided, so it'd be nice to try to get it.
Yeah.
$2,800.
Well, and I understand Mary was going to maybe start a fundraiser sometime. So,
Which I would hate to do
yeah.
for a second sign. And I did call actually the company one day when I was here, and they do not offer two-sided signs. So it's not like we could have got a two-sided sign for a little bit more. That wasn't even an option.
Okay.
Either way, it would have had to order two separate signs.
All right.
So I mean, is there anything like possibly like the technology budget that, or somewhere that we might be able to pull just to get the second side of the sign?
That is a possibility.
in?
I don't know what the balance is off the top of my head, so I'll have to inquire as to what the balance is for that. And there may also be some hazard mitigation money too, so I will look at funding sources for a second sign.
That'd be great. Just as I mean, we did everything else. I mean, it's not all this is just pretty much getting the other piece of it and putting it up, and it'll kind of
Absolutely.
complete for both.
Yeah, and it doesn't
Well, for both
do any
sides.
good sitting in here for months.
It's not appreciated, you know.
I get out there so the community knows what's going on. So this is a tough community with communication because we don't have a gas station, a church, a grocery store, or anything where people meet, post office. We just have nothing like that. So it's very hard to get word out to everybody. So we're hoping the sign will help. The cap for the chimney,
It's in,
it's in?
it's up, it's done.
Thank you. You'll never have to have that on the agenda
Oh,
again.
don't give me
Yeah, I
big
think-
promises.
A couple weeks ago, they were able to get up there on a nice day and get a garage back.
Great. And as far as we know, because we've had a lot of rain, I'm not,
We have been incredibly successful in getting and keeping the water out of the town hall. I would like to thank, you know, the DPW, the folks who work here at town hall, John Blair, who works here as our custodian. We've all worked together, pulled together, and it's
Yeah.
watertight pretty much.
yeah, that was our big thing. We do thank the employees and everybody involved. What a project it was and what a disaster it was. And that's so open, we want to make sure it doesn't happen again. So it looks like we're in good shape and thank everybody that was part of making this happen. It's a really big improvement coming in the town hall. MVP update. I'll give that. We had a couple of meetings and then we met yesterday for 3 hours and
I got an email that they canceled.
they canceled the Zoom meeting. We have a Zoom meeting every other week. They canceled the Zoom meeting because we were meeting on site. So
Okay.
that's fine. But we walked the trails around the school. We walked all around the town field. And there was an expert there that the engineer, designer hired that had his digging equipment that he could go down like 18 inches or so, pull soil out. And he was an expert. He could look at the soil and tell if it was wetland soil, if it was fill or whatever. And we walked all the way over to Tamarack Brook, which is by across from Lincoln Drive. And we went on Wilson's land and saw ditches. But like I say, it was a 3-hour progress. The bad news is that wherever there's wetlands, there's not a lot we can do, and I especially worry about the Four Corners area because it's all in a floodplain. There's a lot of wetlands there, and we're really not allowed to do anything there. But he did look at the culverts and things like that, even though, like at Tamarack, it was discussed. He said, well, a bigger culvert could go in here, but the problem is the water doesn't get into Hudson Brook, because
not
Hudson.
flowing.
It's not flowing. And so, anyway, again, it's a little negative news. They are gonna look at everything and see what they can do and put in this grant. But the good news is, from the school I'll talk about first, they think they can actually do a nice path that would be a little wider and open and clear the trees that always filling in right from the back. They may have it where it goes down now from the parking lot. It actually would maybe go off toward the basketball hoop and around because of the grade. They want to have the grade so that little children and people aren't slipping. It's easy around, but they could have that come right around, down and go down the town field. The culverts, the bridges and everything there, they claim they can take care of. They will replace, they will do whatever they have to do. The town field, actually, we can put fill and do things in there. Fill is there now, and the wetlands are pretty obvious. It's where they drop off into the brooks that going around. So they didn't find any wetlands in the field itself. So they may be able to do something there and help us. Kyle?
Can they clean out the drainage that's back there? I know it's in wetlands, but we have the right to hopefully maintain the drainage that's around there. Did they speak to that and look at that?
They did, and a lot of this is we're able to maintain, and this, I'll even include that with the fields over in Wilson's property, because he's got those ditches. They are able to maintain to what they were back years ago. And Mr. Wilson, the son-in-law, actually, not Mr. Wilson, actually had
Yeah.
the survey and everything came out, and he's got records of showing they can go so deep, so he's gonna
So
keep those
if-
clean.
If we can find records of the town field showing that it was grass right up to those ditches back in the day.
Yeah.
Would we be able to get in there?
We would
Right
be,
now, we can't with equipment, it's all grown up. You know
Right.
what I mean, we can't get in there.
I believe we would, from what I understand, what he said, and again, I'm no expert on this, but from what I understand, we can put things back to the way they were, so if some of these ditches have filled in,
Well, they have.
we can dig them out to where they originally were, but we do have to try to find records or history of it. And,
Would Mr. Wilson have pictures, because he had a barn behind his house that was right along the road, that was one of the two barns that burned, not the one at the Four Corners, but the one that's on West Cross Road.
yep,
Almost across from that house that we moved for the bonfire.
Yep.
Almost directly across the street. In fact, I think some
I
of the
remember it.
remnants of the concrete foundation are still there. And you know, his mother owned that house, Zane Wilson.
yep,
So maybe they were saved or passed down when the barns burned. Maybe they took some pictures that captured those farmer swales.
Yep.
Shall we call them?
yep,
And another thing too, for the first time like in forever, the state did allow for grants to dredge a
Yep.
river. And so if we're lacking the capacity to dig or do anything in that Lincoln Drive area where it meets Crossroad,
yep,
because there is the problem is the water's coming out from the swamp and it's sitting stagnant because in a high water event, the Hudson, which is where our half bridge is, it rises up and so the water can't get out and so it backs up into people's yards.
right,
And so the solution in short order is to dredge the Hudson to bring that level down, and that feeds into Natural Bridge, obviously. So then there would be the capacity then for the drainage that is existing but is inadequate
yep.
to drain into the Hudson.
Yeah, and I even talked about, because they had maps there, and Susan Brandon and Jim Brandon were there, they're both geologists, and of course Susan's on the Historic Commission. She had old maps and everything there, and we saw where Tamarack actually curls back around and goes into Hudson, and I said, could that be redirected where it goes into the Hudson River down further so that it's lower? And they sort of laughed at me and said that is really difficult and probably not a possibility, but they said they would at least look at it. So, and maybe it could be part of a different
Effort. Cleve, I can remember, had told me about a website that had vintage aerial photography throughout the country. So I'm going to touch base with him again, because we might be able to get the aerials of that area from 1950 or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, I think Jim, because Jim was talking about that too, and he's on the Conservation Commission, so I think he knows these sites. But like I said, I had him laughing quite a bit yesterday with the proposals. No, you can't do that. No, you can't do that. But we're going to do something. But the good news is, I think the school and the town field, and then even drainage from the senior center, they looked at that and they said they might be able to do something to direct the flow or whatever, they have it come down. I don't know what they can do, Kyle, but they did look at all that, and maybe a new culvert at the bottom where all the water's puddling. They may be involved in helping that whole area, so that's good news. So anyway, that was the first site visit for all of us, and going on. We do meet the committee, which we have a good group of committee. I hope I can remember them all, but Susan and Jim Brandon, who are geologists, are on. Marinda Bona is also a geologist, and she's a younger lady that's on. Myself, a select person. My wife is on it, who is the senior center director, and which is all involved. Emily Roselli from the school is on the committee. Cleve Scott's on the committee, environmentalist, the conservation commissioner. And I don't know if I'm forgetting anybody else, I hope not. But my point is, there's a good, diverse group of not only townspeople, but people that make decisions in town. So we meet monthly at the senior or the community center, and we take care of that. The grant that we were able to get through Berkshire Regional Planning, and Courtney is the one that is our liaison. She's the one that does most of the work getting us this grant. So it's not that we can take credit, but we're answering her questions, but she's getting these grants for us. We're paying $80,000 for this designer through Massachusetts grant to help design and see what we can do. So that's what that was all about yesterday. I want to make sure I'm clear.
For clarification, the fee we pay her, it doesn't come out of the town's coffers, it comes out of the grant itself to manage the grant.
And the other good news that everyone should know is it is a matching grant of 20, is it 10 or 20%? I think 20% we have to pay as a town, but all our time and in-kind donations all goes toward that. And even the 225th, because the focus of that was for the MVP. Everything, the donation from the band, the donation of all of us working there, the people coming there, all that goes part of our share. And I think it was like $8,000 that event went toward our grant. So we will probably end up not having to spend any taxpayers' money to get this done. So that's good news. But all right, any questions on that? You all set, Dan? You got any
No,
questions?
no questions at this time.
All right.
John, how are you?
Hi, John.
Hey, John.
John, now that you're here, we're gonna go right into, we're gonna put you busy right here. We're gonna go to the Safe Routes Grant.
Okay.
And we were just starting to talk about Tara and Sandy and everybody involved. We appreciate very much going after Grant. I think, in my opinion, we got some unexpected good news for it, and they're moving forward with it. I know on March 26th, there's going to be a meeting, and representatives from Mass DOT are coming up to look at the whole area. I know there's been some concern because it's sidewalks are always mentioned, sidewalks, and talking to Mass DOT, sidewalk has a broader definition, and it could be something different than we think. So we won't get into that because I don't know what they're going to tell us at the meeting, but I just wanted to let everybody know that that's where we are there. What would you like to add to that? Anything or?
No, we're just looking forward to speaking with them. I mean, we're very pleased about the upgrade from originally asking for 400,000 to them awarding us, or awarding the town, 1.2 million to fix that stretch of road. I mean, with the school, the DPW building, the town field, and the community senior center right there, I mean, that's really the, I know it's not the hub of the town officially, but it really, it's the unofficial hub. So I mean, there's, you know, from my time going up there with my girls' basketball teams 20 plus years ago to right now with the school, I mean, there's a lot of activity there. There's a lot of people walking on the road. There's a lot of need to keep people safe, including the school when we're using that as our evacuation route. So there's so many different things going on at that stretch of road that it's really nice to see the state targeting it for this financial assistance so that the town can work together with the school's input and everybody else to make sure we have a safer stretch of road that everyone can use.
Yep, and again, I think the town's concern from the DPW point of view is we don't have sidewalks, we don't have means to shovel or plow the sidewalks. Also sidewalks, over the years, when they're new, they're fine, but boy, after 5 years or so, you know, from the plow sitting, the granite curb, weeds growing up in them, there is a lot of maintenance to some of them sometimes. So that's why there's just been, oh, what's this gonna entail? But we won't know that until the 26th, until we talk to Mass DOT to see what the options are, and then we'll cross those bridges when we get to them. But and I'll let Dan talk. But in my opinion, what we're doing with MVP and everything, I do agree. It looks like that whole area with the school, the community center, senior center, DPW, the town field, and we're going to have walking trails there. It looks like that's going to be becoming bigger and bigger and more activity, and we want it to be as safe as possible. So Kyle, I don't know if you want to say anything or not.
I ain't got nothing for this one.
Okay, but anyway.
That's one question though. I really, you know, it's funny you drive around town, you don't really pay attention sometimes, and you just get something like this you start looking at. So, somebody mentioned to me about sidewalks right here on this road. So I was driving today, and there's like, I mean, there's a sidewalk from North Adams that goes right up past this building, and then you go past it, it switches sides, it goes way past where the where the old country club was, and goes past
It
that.
is.
I mean, it's important because, I mean, it's safety. So, I mean, the thing I worry about, and I'm just gonna say this for the sidewalk issue, and I don't, you know, we'll see what they say on the 26th, obviously.
Yep.
But, I mean, that road is so well traveled. I mean, for me, just driving to the school constantly and going up to the, that area, I mean, there's just always, not even kids, there's residents constantly walking on that piece of the road, and I think we have to do our best to keep it safe. So whatever that means, you know, let's just keep an open mind and figure out what we can do and what we can maintain, and how we can make that stretch of road safer, and use this money to the best interest of the town going forward.
Yep, that's and I do not disagree with that. The state does own Route 8, so they take care of that. Yeah, so the sidewalk. But it may be, depending on what Mass DOT says and whatever, we don't know where we're going. But I do agree that I see people walking there all the time. And also, you know, I didn't mention one thing with MVP. They did talk about, we would like to have some kind of nature trail that can go out into wetlands, and there'd be benches there or whatever, and possibly even having a walking trail around our town field and whatever that would connect to that. So it has an area for people and residents to walk and not have to be on the roads, because we don't have sidewalks. But that just means people are going to be parking there, there's going to be walking there. There's not great parking. They did talk about expanding the parking lot that there's, but there's not a lot we can do because there's a brook on all sides, and we cannot go beyond that point. But we park at the senior center or the community center and the school and stuff. So we have to have a means for people to get to these places. So it may be we have to bite a bullet. We'll see what Mass DOT says.
And even today coming down here, when I drove by Town Field, there had to be about 30 kids playing at the basketball court, which was great to see.
Yeah.
There was one car, I'm pretty sure they didn't all come in the car, so they walked or they rode their bikes, and you know that they're traveling on that road in order to get to that area, so keeping them safe is the ultimate goal.
Yeah, it is. Dan?
No, I think it's great that, you know, potentially getting the sidewalks started. Look forward to seeing what they say on the, 26th, or how we're gonna do it. And, I mean, if, snow removal on, maybe part of the grant, they can get one of those little snow blowers they drive like a sidewalk blower or something could be built into the grant. You never, if that's an issue for it.
Yeah, and if I can also add, I'm taking my principal hat off and saying, town's person here, they're not looking to finish this another 4.5 years out. So, I mean, the actual hope is the town's finances are gonna be at a lot better spot in 4 years, and there'll be more manpower, because it's definitely needed, in the DPW. So that's, I guess we have to also consider looking at the long-range plans for this as well.
I agree. Agree.
No, absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
We good?
Yep, we already did the roof.
Okay. All right, thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night. See ya.
See you later.
Have a good one.
Okay, the 2025 budget.
It's tight. So we had our first full finance committee meeting earlier this week. It went very well. So we've set up a schedule for meeting with the department heads moving forward. So I'll notify them shortly. And then we'll set up the agendas and start working on the budget in earnest. I have a lot of the numbers already plugged in. And we, obviously are gonna have an incredibly tight budget. There are some needs that we need badly, which may not be met, be quite honest. Our aid from the state has gone up $7,000. So the bottom line is it's pretty much nothing.
It's less than 1%.
And then you're looking at inflation running at 4.1. Bottom line is where it's negative impact on the budget. So inflation goes up 4%, and we get a 1% increase, so we're taking another 3% cut, which is really the nuts and bolts of it. So, some decisions and some cuts are probably gonna be on the table. We do need a new highway truck. We do need some new assessing software. And we need a fourth guy on the highway department for compliance issues. And so how we accomplish that is yet to be seen. But we're hopeful that the legislature will be more kind to the town, clearly understanding that 50% plus of the town is owned by the Commonwealth, and they give us a whole whopping $30,000 a year. And it hasn't changed really in any meaningful way from last year or the year before. And so our tax base is small. Understanding Clarksburg is the smallest land-massed town in Berkshire County, and then half of the town is owned by the Commonwealth. So our tax base is teeny, and our needs are great.
Yeah, and I just came to the finance committee. I think the 3 people on the finance committee, they're all very good. They care. They're willing to speak up, and they're not just yes people. They're willing to go through the budget, and I think that's very important. We will have to set up some extra meetings probably for us, because we need to go through the budget line by line too,
Clearly.
and discuss everything. So just whenever you get the budget ready, we'll maybe set up a meeting and go over it, and then see what the finance committee recommends and narrow it down. But I agree, there is definitely some increases that we have to make. We have to run the town. Mass Works update on One Step and
Okay, one stop for growth. So we're going to be allowed to submit 5 grants, which we are fully intending on doing. I have done the expression of interest. We've gotten the responses back. I've shared them with you. And so the big one that, well, actually we've got a couple big ones in just kind of figuring out how we want to go about it. But one of them is to complete the spine, basically, of the town, which is Middle Road, our north-south corridor. So we are going to be completing the MassWorks grant that I wrote 2 years ago. That'll be closed out, hopefully, and finished in May. Then I have to close it out in June. And then, and as of right now, and we're engineered, we're ready to go. It's just I gotta wait for the portal to open to apply for another $1 million to complete Middle Road. So that would be basically going from the Four Corners south right to the North Adams line. You know, a couple of good things relative, to that is that, you know, we have fewer culverts and crossings, unlike the other area on the north side. We had quite a few, and some of them were rather significant, where we had to couple that grant with some Chapter 90 grant money. For instance, do the culvert just north of where Horgan Road meets, and you know, just so people understand, you know, that culvert was $128,000, and that's just for a culvert. You know, the costs that we're seeing here in construction, as well as the goods and services that we need to provide the services that the town people expect of us, are going through the roof. And so, you know, patience is always a virtue, and certainly appreciated.
Yeah, and I always feel like I'm nagging you a lot, Carl, on this, but I always worry about this coming up this time of year, because that's why I always like to do things in January, February, whenever we can, but the portals weren't open, I understand that. But it's like, now we're coming in the budget season and all this and that, and all these grant applications that gotta get out too, so I just want people to know it's very busy, and you gotta,
Taxing.
yeah, and you gotta.
On me.
For you gotta get these out, because we cannot miss these opportunities, because the money might not be there next year.
So I'm just curious, when, I know the portal's not open, but is there a deadline when it has to be submitted by?
June 2nd.
June 2nd, okay.
And
And they usually award that around August time, is it?
No, they're gonna be November-ish.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's a long ways away.
But June 2nd, so you know,
Yeah.
that just leaves the
'Cause
rest
that's
of
when we
March,
went
April, and May. I mean,
with,
you're only
couple
talking 10
bases.
weeks. And like I said, we got budget season and town
Well, I
meeting.
think that they're gonna open the portal in April. I mean, as soon as it's open, I'm down to
Yeah.
get that thing out.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got a number of things too, so like, for instance, also MassWorks grant. So I've got a $10,000 DLTA, District Local Technical Assistance grant for the master plan. But it's gonna be a $50,000 ask. So I've gotta get another $40,000, and I'm intending on going through MassWorks. Well,
Yep.
it's one stop for growth, but it's not actually infrastructure type of a thing. But we haven't done a master plan in the town since 1965. You know, it's
Yeah, just a lot we need to, and
just
that.
slightly younger than me.
Yeah, and
Um,
the one stop, you know, they have the strap grants for the roads and everything, but there's also like a rural thing. And so
Planning
I've
and-
seen,
yeah.
I've seen people, or I've seen other towns get money to help renovate a town building and whatever. So that's why there's different areas we can do. So thanks, Carl, but and appreciate that, and we got to make sure we stay on top of it. Marilyn, then up next is the change in dog licensing application from May to June. Now, I'm not
That's
sure
in there.
exactly how this works.
That's why I
What
was kinda came
you
here
got?
tonight.
Thank you.
I didn't know it was on there actually until I left this afternoon. My reasoning for that is two things. I send out notices in our census so that it's cost effective. I don't wanna send notices out in May when I've just done a full mailing for the whole community in January. So I get it in there, and surprisingly enough, people do it right away. I'm halfway there for the number of dogs we've licensed usually. Our licenses are low because people just don't do it, and the means to find them just isn't there. You know, people aren't gonna do it, and we don't, to take them to do, like to court or whatever, it doesn't pay you to do that,
Right.
you know? But I thought the first of the year is better because you have your taxes, you have your excise tax, and people are coming in to pay their bills, and it's in their mind right then in January, you know? And I just think that's a better time frame. And a lot of communities do it in January, and some still do it in May. But I find it to be more cost-effective and productive to do it in January.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I agree too, if it's on people's mind, they're liable to do it. And then if they forget about it, they think, oh, I got away with it so far.
Yeah,
And I think it sometimes has that
Exactly.
mentality, and I can get away with this,
Yeah,
and,
and it is a mass general law that dogs be licensed. It's
Yep.
not something that the town has decided on, it is a general law that they do that. But I know we don't license, because we only license maybe 260 or so, and I'm about 110 right now.
Okay.
So that's not all the dogs in town, I know that.
Right.
But what are you gonna do? How do you can't,
It's hard to
unless
enforce
there's an
it, but-
issue
we'll have to look at that.
or a
too.
dog bites someone or something like that, then if they're not licensed, they can be fined, the chief can fine them, and, but,
Okay.
I just think January makes more sense to me, but,
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's cost effective, easier,
Yeah.
I like it,
yeah.
good idea.
So my question is, Carl, I'm not sure, can that just go on the town warrant? Is it something the selectmen can just do? I think the selectmen can just do
You
this.
know, I did not see anything under the dog regulations regarding the licensing period in the, bylaws, but I don't wanna say that for sure, because I don't know the bylaws 100%, and the bylaws are still kinda foreign to me compared to
Okay.
what I used to work with. But I didn't seem to see it, so I don't know what the proper procedure is. I mean, for this year, we're gonna go with it the way it is, because we have to, because we can't change it midstream, but people
Right.
are licensing their dog, but I'd like to see that. So next year, when I send my the census out, the form will then say January 1 instead of May 1st.
So
But I don't know.
I'll look into to see whether it's requiring going on a warrant, or is it an act of the select board?
Okay. And if it's the act of the select board, we'll do it next meeting or whatever. Like I say, there's no real hurry
There's
now.
no real hurry,
But
when
we
I
don't wanna
saw
forget
you, I
about
thought about it, and I said, well, I'm gonna put it out there and find out, I don't even know what the process would be, because again, I'm gonna admit, I don't know all the processes of the bylaws, so.
Well, thank you for this, and thanks for being so efficient with the town and trying to get things better. We appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely, thank you, Mary Lynn.
Hey, I enjoy working here, they're good people.
So we do have good people.
Likewise.
And we can send Kyle out to check on the unlicensed dogs out there too, that'd be in his free time.
Okay, another question while we're on this, before we move on to something else.
Yep.
If I feel that something else should be changed as far as the dogs go too, and I believe that would have to go through by a town meeting on a bylaw in the dog regulations.
Yep.
So how do I go about that? Do I come up with a wording, and it's to do with the DPW doesn't like mowing over somebody else's mess.
Oh, yeah, right.
And people don't like stepping in it, and it's not in the bylaw. So I'd like to see that added.
You were probably, in my opinion, probably the best one to come up with the wording for that, if you don't mind. And then it would just go on
Just present
to,
it
So what are we looking to accomplish, Marilyn?
to
Like
get
at town
so,
field, or?
well, any place, when you're walking
In
your
the
dog, you should
Oh,
be
okay.
responsible to pick up the dog mess. I know there are ordinances in other places for that. We were having a conversation with the DPW one, I forget what day it was, and we were laughing about it, because they, out here in the town park, right out here in the town hall, the guys mow, and they'll go around it, because they don't wanna go through it,
Right.
and they don't want it on their machines and everything else. And I think people that have an animal should be responsible enough to
Pooper
pick up.
scooper law.
They should, yeah, it should be a pooper scooper, but they should be responsible enough to pick that up. I mean, if you're walking or out on the town field, do you wanna, you allow dogs out there, do you want your
Yep.
kids running through that and
Well,
stepping
okay.
in it and,
I
You know?
don't think dogs should be at town field because the kids use it all the time.
but is there anything
There
that says
shouldn't
that, I don't know, can dogs go out there? I don't know,
well,
There's no actual bylaw, there's signs up, there's no bylaw. There's
No.
that says-
Well, then we can bring one.
That's what I.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out, and I think that would need to go to town meeting. Let's kill it all with one
yeah, I
fell
mean,
swoop.
in the parks and,
Well,
where people are.
I get
you know?
frustrated with Clarksburg State Park because on the beach, there's a sign there, no dogs allowed on the beach. Every time we go kayak and go up there, and we're up there a lot,
Yeah.
there's always people walking the dogs on the
Yeah.
beach. And, kids are there and
Right.
stuff like that.
Yeah, and I mean, it's
They
an
need to
enforcement.
enforce it.
It's an enforcement issue, but
Yeah.
and it's too
But-
small to do that, but, maybe, I don't know, I think North Adams has a fine actually for theirs, if I'm not mistaken, in the ordinance. It's been a while since I looked at it, but I believe they do.
Well,
But I think people should be made aware of it and made responsible for that. You're gonna have an animal, be responsible.
absolutely, and if you come up with wording and you see that there's a fine involved, that can be on the warrant, correct, Carl?
Well, what I was thinking is that we could do it in one fell swoop so that it
Oh.
change the
Okay.
licensing. And actually being on a calendar year, people are probably more likely to
I like
remember it.
calendar, yeah, right.
And in tandem with that, that we also have a,
We can do it that way, because
pick your,
under the
stuff up.
bylaws of the dogs, it does have, and then it has the different ones, and it says A, B, C, D, and then all I gotta do is add another section, E and F,
Yeah.
or whatever it is, I can't remember, but, and just make those part of it.
Yeah, we had even at the park right up here, it was a mess all the time, and John Foster volunteers, he goes over and mows and stuff, he says, it's a mess. I'm always like, he said, so the state, we called the state, and they actually put a sign up there, but again, it's hard to enforce it. But lots of times, if people see the sign, they will say, oh, wait a minute,
But you could also, I don't know, they're probably I don't know expense-wise, but I know they have those, bags that you can put in things, and
Yeah.
people could take a bag, like if they're at the park or whatever, and use it, but I mean, and people who own an animal should be responsible,
Absolutely,
for their,
absolutely.
for the dog.
All right,
So that was mine.
thank you, appreciate it.
I agree. Thank you, Marilyn.
Okay, next is the Briggsville Water District land acquisition.
so we got a grant for the Briggsville Water District as part of our compliance with DEP mandates. And so this is, it's going to be a multi-year. Heck, if we have it done in a decade, I'll be amazed. We have a lot to do. So part of that, we were awarded I want to say $41,000 in totality, and we have some other items that we have to address with the balance. But we are acquiring a 2.6 acre parcel of land directly behind and adjacent to the Briggsville Water System wellhead. So what we're intending is that that can also be an open space area once we're done to walk or recreate as needed, I guess. And so we're closing on that on Friday.
Okay, sounds good. Are there any public comments? Okay, at this point, I'll make a motion that we go into, we close this meeting, or do we close it after the executive session?
Well-
We come back in session?
We're not gonna be doing, we'll come back in session if you want to adjourn,
Yes,
yeah.
okay. All right, so we need a roll call vote to go into executive session.
Dan Haskins, yes.
Bob Norcross, yes?